Welcome to the Path Podcast, where we will travel the lives of some bold women, from dreams to detours to destiny. She did not choose this path. This path chose her. This is the Path Podcast. Welcome back, Path listeners, to the Path Podcast with your sister, your motivator, your confidence builder, the one who believes that purpose is bigger than obstacles. Path listeners, I'm coming in today sounding a little nasally, so please forgive that sound. But I had every intention on talking about several topics. One, I'm trying to still get the right guest in, and that is because the month of March is Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month. If you don't know, multiple sclerosis is a disease that impacts the brain, spinal cord, and optic nerves, which make up the central nervous system and controls everything we do. The exact cause of MS is unknown, but we do know that something triggers the immune system to attack the central nervous system, and that is coming from the National MS Society .org. So I know someone personally who has lived with this for a while, and she gives me hope in life. And I promise you this, I want to find the right guest so I can pay homage to her, with this also being the month of March for Women's History Month. So it is a time you want to pay homage to different women in your lives if you haven't done so. But this is a daily thing. I can do this episode on Women's History Month every month, which is what I do because of all the bold women that come on the Path Podcast, as well as the women in my family. So I will bring someone in still who is an expert in talking about multiple sclerosis to share the importance of it, what we should be looking out for, what we should be learning, what we should be asking our doctors, and just what you can do to help your family member and or the organization if need be, and just to do our part. And again, when I mentioned that this month also is Women's History Month, but like I said, we do that every day on the Path Podcast because of the women that come on here. So I give homage to my family, to the women in my life who helped me to be who I am today. And ladies out there, if you know the women in your lives, pay homage to them, thank them. We can't thank our ancestors like but yes, we can. We can thank our ancestors by doing what they fought hard for us to do here today. So that is my goal, and that's what I plan to do. So I want to say to all the women out there, I honor you and I respect you, and let's keep supporting each other so we can all win at this game called life. Continue to take care of ourselves, take care of our families, and just take care of the world. That's what we do as women. So to get into what I'm going to talk about briefly for today I wanted to get into talking about how we need to pivot in life sometimes. Have you ever had to just pivot? If you've never thought about it, I'm pretty sure women, we do it every day as we raise our children, as we are wives to our husbands and our relationships. We are forever pivoting in life. So for some of you, if you don't know, what is the meaning of pivot? There are several definitions, but I definitely always hone in on the definition in the context of business. In the business world, the definition reads as is to completely change the way in which one does something. And you may be asking, why are we talking about pivoting? Because sometimes I think it's hard. It's hard for us to settle in on, I have to change directions or change the way I'm doing something. We look at it, and I might be jumping ahead of myself, but we look at it as failure, but it's not. Sometimes it's necessary. The good thing about it is that you are aware that you have to do it for whatever the reasons are or is, and do it. Okay, let me be transparent as I am normally. I have never been one who wanted to pivot a lot, or I would have thought if I had to pivot that in some way I failed, because I'm kind of a perfectionist on the back end. I want things done right, and before I start anything, let me have the whole plan and just let me run with it. But I've learned, even starting this podcast, that things may change, because I'm in a place, I'll be honest with you right now, where I'm wondering, where do I need to pivot? If it's time to pivot, And if not, I will continue the process as it is until I have to. How do we know sometimes if we do need to pivot? Right now, it is if you're doing something and you're not getting the same type of inspiration, or if you're out of alignment, you need to go back and review your notes and your goals, and what was your original plan. And sometimes in your business, if you're putting in a lot of work and nothing is progressing slowly, sometimes it's just time to assess that. That doesn't mean you need to pivot every time, everyone. These are just some of those reasons that may make you sit back, and after you assess and go over it, pray about it, and consider, is this the time for me to pivot? Or Lord, are you telling me to pivot? Did I step out on something that I got the wrong idea of what I thought you said, and versus what you really wanted me to do? And sometimes God shows us things in the middle of us just stepping out. Sometimes we just need to take that first step. And when we take that first step, he molds it, and he said, okay, I may be able to trust that you will do it now, that purpose and that vision I told you to do. So now let me show you a little bit more. And when he shows it, some things, sometimes it becomes clear. And sometimes we need that in order for us to get on the right path, or in alignment, like I said, in order to do what he's really calling us to do. For some, you just may need to change and focus on a different set of customers. And like they say, that is partly pivoting also. Right now on this podcast, I deal with just women. I have said in some shared groups that I'm in that I may, in the future, you never know, I may do something where I do the podcast where it's open, where I concentrate on topics that also are there for men. A lot of the topics still are, because whether it's breast cancer, because I've read and learned from even my guests that it is something that men suffer with as well, that there are men out there with a form of breast cancer. And then for multiple sclerosis, if I bring a guest in, it still can be tailored to what men can learn from it as well, even though we may talk about a lot of it where it affects women today, because that's the customer that the people who I feel listen to the podcast more, and my heart is for women. So I may have to pivot one day. And if I do, I am open and ready, because I love working with men. I love dealing with men, and who knows, one day. And again, for the men who listen, I hope you do listen, because again, if you're married, you have a significant other, daughters, this show is still for you, because that'll let you know how to deal with her and work with her when she's going through major things in her life, because we all do handle and deal with things differently. So men, if you're out there, please don't stop listening. Please consider writing me and letting me know topics you want to hear, because that may let me know I need to do it faster than what I think if I do ever decided to make changes, in which I do believe something is coming in the coming year. What it is right now, I don't know, but I'm open and I'm ready. I'm excited, and just of the unknown is scary too, of course, but I'm ready. I'm ready for it, because I've learned to accept change as good, because in life I wish was a straight, narrow road that is happy and full of no issues, no obstacles, no problems. But that is not the case. We know there is not a one-way road anywhere. We have roadblocks. We have to change directions at some point. But you know what? I hope that you are getting something out of this to say, I am here for it. I did not fail. I just have to change how I'm doing it today. And with that change comes a little fear. But sometimes, you know what? That's okay. But just accept it. Accept that it has to happen. And wow, you never know. That's where everything may open up to you. And the universe will bring in all the customers you need, all the guests you need to do what you and only you were placed on this earth to do. And who can do it better than you can? You know, again, I'm your motivator. I'm your confidence builder. If you need somebody to let you know that purpose is bigger than obstacles, I am that one for you. I am here, everyone, to always remind every sister out here that you add value in everything you do. If you don't know that today, call me. I am your girl to remind you. You give me 5 things that you've done today, and I can tell you how much you've added value to yourself, to your family, to the world. And ladies, we cannot fail if we're out here doing what we're called to do. If you're there raising your family, do you know how much value you're adding to the world? Okay, let me come back because that's how I can get off track because I started getting excited to tell everybody how great they are with what they're doing in this world. Ladies, I want one thing for you to get again. I hope you have discovered your voice by this time in your life. If you have not, until it comes, the one thing I hope your voice is telling you is that you are enough, that I am important, that I am beautiful, just as I am. And ladies, it's going to be no one else who can tell you that. If you need to pivot your mind to think on good, start today. That's another pivot. Pivot the negativity that's been given to you from whomever has ever said anything that planted that seed of negativity in you, because you didn't grow up thinking that you may not have been beautiful or smart enough or intelligent enough to start that business. Ladies, it is a change today. Your pivot should start today. This podcast, I hope and pray, it is doing what it's supposed to do. That's why this topic came and I had to talk about it today. Even with my nasally sounding nose, and I hate to keep saying that. My daughter is probably going to delete this out, but I must let you know that you have to make the decision yourself. I've said that 1,000,000 times, and I will continue to say it until that one person hears it and believes that. Because the change starts with you even just saying it until you believe it. Speak it until you believe it. Words have power. Use your words wisely. And those naysayers, you turn what they say into something positive. And if they're doing it to you today, when they speak negativity, tell them I choose not to listen to what you say. And if you have nothing good to say, please don't share your unsolicited advice with me. Okay, so ladies, if you know you have to pivot, just look again and ask the questions. Did your perspectives change? And just know when it's time to persevere, or if it's time to quit some things. Not everything, but some things. Just know when it's time to pivot. Do your research. And when you do your research, to pivot effectively, you need to get out there and start doing it today. Start doing it after you've done the research, prayed about it, and just make the move. Don't scrap all the work you've done in the past, because you never know how you may use some of that in your current state and what you need to be doing. But definitely do not scrap everything. And of course, for those out there, listen to your customers. Your customers are the bread and butter to a lot of what you do. They are not the answer to everything, because the vision is given to you. You follow the vision. But if you have customers purchasing from you, if it's a business or if it's a service that you're offering, listen to that, to the customers. My thing is, the listeners are like my customers, and I pray that my listeners are getting what they need from this podcast. If I get into the speaking world and businesses want a certain topic to be as a speech for their organizations, or for any women organizations that I speak in, I will definitely tailor a lot of my messages to what they're looking for that organization. The core message will not change. I offer positivity, motivation, encouragement, and adding value. Those are the things that are core. But then I will definitely still tailor some of the things to what the event planners or organizations are asking me to fit more in line in what they want their people to hear for that day. So again, we do pivot based off of what we're seeing, what we're not seeing. We have to make the decisions again if we continue to persist. And then we also have to again decide if it's time to pull the plug in so many ways. And again, once you pull it, always think back if that's a decision you feel that you're being called to do, pull the plug on the business, on the idea, just changing it, or whatever you do, don't look at it as you failed. Nelson Mandela's quote, as we all have heard, I incorporate this into my life, and it's time to incorporate the positivity, ladies, only in your life, because his quote reads, I never lose, I either win or I learn. And the life that he lived before he became the president of South Africa is astonishing to me. Think about it. Nelson Mandela was in prison for 27 years. I can't even imagine thinking about that. But to still walk out, he didn't lose his mind. He didn't lose his intelligence. He didn't lose his calling to be president that God saw and knew. He still went after all of that after finally being released, for wrongly being in prison, for one thing, for being in prison. But thankfully he was released and still lived the life he lived afterwards. It's just goes to show that we all can do anything. Life will take us on a road sometimes that none of us wish we ever had to walk. I'm sure he never, if someone has said, okay, you're going to be jailed 27 years, but you're going to come out president. Some of us, and I know me, probably would have said, nah, you can have that. I don't need to be president. If I have to sit in someone's prison for 27 years for not doing anything wrong, no, I'm not. Yeah. And a lot of us, the divorce, the being laid off, that's another episode I started to do today, is talking about more in depth of being laid off 3 times in 4 years and still how I didn't lose. That's how life works. And if anyone out there, have you ever seen the show Restaurant Impossible with the host Robert Irvine, where he goes in and helps failing restaurants turn things around in 2 days? But if you look at that show, a lot of times some people don't understand how to run a business, which is one thing. But then a lot of them, just they need that expertise to come in and help them with a lot of what's not working. Each episode, you will see major things that they have to pivot and change and do differently. That is such, I love the show. And it is hard for a lot of people to make those changes. But it amazes me that they come in, some people, and still does not feel like nothing needs to change, although things are not working. But, I think it's just that we sometimes can hold on, or our emotions get in the way, in the feelings, instead of you take it as a personal hit on you personally, like, Arlene, you're bad because the restaurant is failing. No, it's not that. It's just that the business is failing. Yes, I played a part in that because I failed to do some things the right way, or if it's doing more research, or if it's doing some things, but I can change that. Those are things that can be changed. So I only brought that show up just to say that is a classic example of people having to pivot daily. And if you read some of some of the episodes from the past, I'm sure some restaurants did not make it afterwards, some still, because I'm sure some of the people went back into doing some things that didn't work. But they brought in someone who is successful in doing the work and doing that business. So if you didn't do some of the things that was suggested and pivot the way that some things were suggested to pivot, then, maybe it was time to just do something different. But definitely, I always believe in never looking at it. Don't take it personal as well. If you have someone speaking into you that's like a mentor, I would just call Robert Irvine for that scenario. I just use like their mentor. Just take into account and work with someone you feel like trusts your opinion as well. But if you bring in a mentor who's already successfully doing what they're doing to help you along in your business, listen to what they're offering as advice and changes that you probably need to make that's going to be best for you and your business. Do not take it personal. You brought them in for a reason, but just make sure you are working with someone who you work well with, that gets along with you, but will challenge you as well. Running any business, I bet everyone out there knows, running a family knows, change is natural, change is necessary, and change is expected. Just remember those things. For sake of time, I know I need to start ending this podcast, but I wanted to leave you with 3 of some of the most popular some of the most popular companies that we all know of, have heard of, that had to pivot. And I learned some of this by when I did some of my research. I didn't realize Twitter had to pivot because they, who of course needs no introduction, like it says, they said that they began life as a company called Odeo, a podcasting platform. Did not know that. However, they say the launch of Apple's iTunes swamped the market, rendering audio obsolete. Employees were given 2 weeks to come up with a new business idea. So during one of their brainstorming sessions, Jack Dorsey, who, as we know in the past now, was one of the co-founders of Twitter, he came up with an idea of sharing your status, what you're doing, thinking or feeling. As we know, too many people put too much of what, I don't think they're thinking, first of all, but I digress. But what a great idea. So Twitter launched in 2006 with Dorsey at the helm. Today, as we all know, it was sold for billions of dollars to, shall not name the person, but it was one of the pivots that that company had to make. Another company that I want to talk about is Starbucks. Did not know that in 1971, Starbucks was launched as a business selling espresso makers and coffee beans. However, in 1983, after a visit to Italy, CEO Howard Schultz decided to actually brew the Starbucks coffee beans in a European-style coffee house. Starbucks had found its business destiny, and now the world-famous chain boasts over 31,000 plus stores worldwide. That's crazy to me. I love these ideas because that's why I love the ideas of business, because I love to hear how businesses started and just to always encourage and motivate everyone else out there. Who knows what your business will become? But we think that these companies are different for some reason. No, they started because some had ideas, some had to pivot. And one more I want to share is YouTube. YouTube started out as Tune In Hookup. That was the unofficial slogan of the video dating site. Did not know it was that. YouTube launched on Valentine's Day in 2005, and the concept never took off. So when the co-founders realized that users were using the site differently than what they intended, they pivoted. The breakthrough came when co-founder, I don't want to say his name wrong, it's Jawed, Karim, Karim, posted the first ever video famously saying elephants have really, really, really long trunks. This inspired users to post silly videos of themselves on the site. In 2006, YouTube was bought by Google for billions of dollars, and it's now the most popular video sharing site on the internet, and it's worth many, many more billions of dollars. So I only wanted to give those examples to show how we have to pivot and sometimes how it can put us on the right track. Wow, that just encouraged me, just to let you all know, because I did not know these stories. I would have started the podcast out with all of this again. But sometimes I kind of, as I'm going, look for some other examples to give everyone to encourage you. So, ladies, I just hope that this episode does what it is supposed to do. I hope it encourages you. I hope it helps you to make the right decisions if it's time to pivot, to let you know every time we pivot, it's not because we failed at anything. Back to our original quote by Nelson Mandela, I never lose. I either win or I learn. That's what these three examples of these companies taught us. They learned from the things that they thought they knew. Oh my goodness, it's just the most amazing thing in the world to hear these stories. And I could have given more, but I didn't. So if you want to read more, go to theceomagazine.com, and there's an article that reads 8 famous and staggeringly successful business pivots. And there are 5 others that I didn't mention. There are some other articles that's not in this magazine, but others that talk about other companies that had to pivot. But if you need that motivation, who knows, it just might help you fall into success. Well, ladies, as we look into continuously moving into what we're doing. I pray that this has blessed you, and I hope that you and I both will be successful in whatever changes we make, whatever decisions we decide, and meet each other on the other side of success, because that's where I plan on being. And my success may not look like your success. The whole point is we all can be successful in our own right. So keep winning, keep shining, keep showing up. Find your voice. Love yourself. Ladies, there's nothing more than a woman who shows herself self-love. Because once you love yourself, you will not allow anyone else to treat you or love you any less than what you already show yourself. Thank you for hanging out with me here on the Path Podcast. Remember, my crown is not complete until every woman wears her crown proudly. Until next time, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for hanging with us. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and other platforms, so you can stay up on our bi-weekly, real conversations with these bold women. You can follow the Path Podcast on Facebook at the Path Podcast, and on Instagram and Twitter at the Path_podcast. And if you would like to be a guest on the show or have questions for a future show, you can email us at thepath4ward@gmail.com. That's thepathforward@gmail.com. And if you're looking for a speaker or you're in need of a life coach, please reach out to me. Again, at thepathforward@gmail.com or at ACKORLEH@gmail.com. Thank you. Until next time.